Universal spent billions of dollars creating what's been called the most ambitious theme park ever built. Epic Universe promises to transport guests into 5 incredible worlds packed with groundbreaking attractions, incredible food, and immersive storytelling. But after finally visiting the park myself, is it really worth all the hype? In this video, I'm going to take you through every land, the best rides, the food, the entertainment, and whether I think it's worth planning your next holiday around. Epic Universe is Universal Orlando's resort's newest theme park, and it's unlike anything they've built before. Instead of one large park with themed areas, Epic Universe is made up of 5 separate worlds, each connected by impressive portals that genuinely make you feel like you're stepping into another universe. Those worlds are Celestial Park, Super Nintendo World, Dark Universe, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, and How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk. Each one has its own attractions, restaurants, shops, music, and atmosphere, making every land feel completely unique. Walking into Epic Universe for the first time generally felt different to any other theme park I've visited. The first thing you notice is just how open everything feels. Celestial Park is absolutely beautiful, with huge gardens, fountains, lakes, and incredible architecture. It doesn't feel like you're rushing straight into a ride. Instead, it encourages you to slow down and take everything in. Then, there are the portals. I honestly thought they were just going to be fancy entrances into each land, but they completely exceeded my expectations. Walking through each one really does feel like you're leaving one world behind and entering another. Universal has done an amazing job making each land feel completely separate, and that level of immersion is probably the thing that impressed me most throughout the entire park. The first world I want to talk about is the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, and this is easily one of my favourite areas in the entire park. As soon as you step through the portal, you're transported to 1920s Paris from the Fantastic Beasts films. The streets are beautifully detailed, the buildings look incredible, and everywhere you look, there's something new to discover. It generally feels like walking through a real city rather than a theme park. Of course, the main attraction here is Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry, and in my opinion, it's one of the best attractions Universal has ever created. But before you even get on the ride, the queue is an attraction in itself. Walking through the Floo network and suddenly arriving inside the British Ministry of Magic is one of the most impressive theme park moments I've ever experienced. The Ministry Atrium is absolutely enormous, and it generally feels like you've stepped straight into the Harry Potter films. The ride itself completely lives up to the queue. Without giving away any spoilers, it combines huge physical sets, incredible animatronics, giant screens, and some really clever ride technology to create one of the most immersive attractions I've ever experienced. Every scene feels massive, and the story keeps you engaged from start to finish. It's a type of attraction where you notice something different every time you ride it, and I honestly think it's one of the biggest reasons to visit Epic Universe. The land isn't just about the ride either. There are some great places to eat, unique shops, and plenty of magical details hidden throughout the streets. It's definitely a land that's worth slowing down and exploring instead of rushing straight to the next attraction. Although I absolutely love the Wizarding World, my favourite themed land in Epic Universe might actually surprise you. Next, we're heading into Dark Universe. Going into Epic Universe, Dark Universe was actually the land I knew the least about, so I wasn't expecting it to become one of my favourites. But the second you walk through the portal into the village of Darkmoor, the atmosphere completely changes. The music, the fog, the old buildings, and the eerie surroundings make it feel like you've stepped straight into a classic monster film. The main attraction here is Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein experiment, and this ended up being my 3rd favourite ride in the whole park. The queue builds so much anticipation before you even get on, and once the ride begins, you're surrounded by some of the most impressive animatronics I've ever seen. Universal has managed to combine huge physical sets, special effects, and classic Universal monsters into an attraction that's exciting from beginning to end. If there's one piece of advice I'd give anyone visiting Epic Universe, it's don't leave before it gets dark. Dark Universe completely transforms at night. The lighting, fog, and atmosphere make the whole village feel even more mysterious, and it's probably the most immersive place in the entire park after sunset. The second ride in this land is Curse of the Werewolf. Now, this isn't the most heavily themed attraction in the park, but it is one of the most fun attractions. The spinning ride vehicles mean every ride feels slightly different, and it's one of those attractions that just makes you laugh the whole way round. It isn't trying to be the biggest or most intense coaster, it's simply a really enjoyable family thrill ride. Overall, Dark Universe completely exceeded my expectations and became one of my favourite lands in the entire park. But now, it's time to head somewhere completely different, one of the happiest places in Epic Universe, the Isle of Berk. The next world is How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk. And honestly, I think this is one of the most beautiful lands Universal has ever built. As soon as you walk through the portal, you feel like you've stepped straight into the films. Everywhere you look, there are giant Viking buildings, dragons perched on rooftops, and incredible views across the lagoon. It really captures the feeling of Berk and is a land that puts a smile on your face the moment you walk in. The headline attraction here is Hiccup's Wing Gliders, and this ended up being one of my favourite roller coasters in the entire park. It's not the fastest or the tallest coaster, but it's just pure fun. The launches are smooth, the views across Berk are amazing, and it really feels like you're flying alongside the dragons. I came off with a huge smile on my face, and I actually enjoyed it more than Donkey Kong Minecart Man. Another thing I absolutely loved was the live show. Even if you're not the biggest How to Train Your Dragon fan, it's definitely worth watching. The performers were brilliant, the music was fantastic, and seeing the dragons brought to life made it feel like you were watching the films in real life. Overall, Isle of Berk is just a really happy place to spend time. Between the attractions, the atmosphere, and the entertainment, it's one of the lands I'd happily spend hours exploring. But now it's time to head into the land that I was probably most excited for before visiting, Super Nintendo World. The final portal takes you into Super Nintendo World, and this was probably the land I was most excited to experience before visiting. Walking in for the first time is an incredible moment. Everything is moving, there are sounds coming from every direction, and it genuinely feels like you stepped into a Mario game. However, this was actually my least favourite land in the park. Not because it's badly designed, it definitely isn't, but because when I visited it was unbelievably busy. The land felt crowded and, at times, quite overwhelming, which made it difficult to slow down and take everything in. Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge is an impressive attraction with an amazing queue, but I found the gameplay a little confusing. There was so much happening at once that I wasn't always sure what I was supposed to be looking at. Donkey Kong Minecart Madness was another ride I was really looking forward to. The jumping track effect is brilliant, but I found the ride much rougher than I expected. My brother and I were constantly knocking our arms against the side of the ride vehicle, and although I enjoyed it, I don't think it's worth some of the really long waits. Personally, I'd choose Hiccup's Wing Gliders every time. One thing Epic Universe absolutely gets right is the food. Across the park, I tried some fantastic meals, but my favourites were definitely the mac and cheese cones. I enjoyed both flavours, although the PB&J version was my favourite. The butterbeer crepe was also delicious, although it's definitely sweet enough to share. We also had the purple adobe pizza from Pizza Moon, which I really enjoyed. and my family all agreed that the Blue Dragon Pan Asian restaurant serves some of the best food we had during our holiday. So, is Epic Universe actually worth the hype? In my opinion, absolutely. Universal hasn't just built another theme park, they've created an experience that feels completely different from anything else in Orlando. Every portal feels like stepping into another world. The attractions are world class, the entertainment is brilliant, and the attention to detail is unlike anything I have ever seen. There are definitely things I'd improve, like adding more shaded areas, reducing the impact of ride closures when it rains, and hopefully finding ways to make Super Nintendo World feel less crowded. But those small issues don't take away from what is an incredible theme park. Overall, I'd give Epic Universe a 9.5 out of 10. It's one of the best theme parks I've ever visited, and I generally think anyone planning a trip to Orlando should make it a priority. If you've already visited Epic Universe, let me know your favourite land or attraction in the comments. And if you're planning a trip, let me know what you're most excited to experience. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below.